Last year, 7-year-old Lydia Schaefer died of a complex seizure while her parents were legislating for access to a drug that could have saved her life. This controversial drug is marijuana. At this moment, countless Americans are being denied a drug that is proven to be safer, more effective, and less addictive than the drugs that they are prescribed. To paraphrase a former president, America, it's time to tear down this wall. It may be easy to blow this subject off if you're not sick. In fact, that's what many of those in our federal and state legislature have been doing. But at any moment, you or someone you love could be diagnosed with a chronic or terminal condition that could be eased by medical marijuana. For the past 5 years, I've been a freelance writer and advocate for special needs in Nashville. Part of my job has been to fully research subjects pertaining to special needs, and this has been one of them. Today, I will make the case for the legislation of medical marijuana and its reclassification from a Schedule I drug by explaining why it's needed, outlining the obstacles that are caused by our current laws, and giving you options to help make a change. So why is medical marijuana needed? Many people would say that it isn't, but parents like Sally Schaefer would disagree. Sally's daughter, like so many children, suffered from a seizure disorder. Her efforts to legalize the medical use of the drug paved the way for parents in other states. In her presentation to the Wisconsin Senate, she told them, "If I have to wait, I worry. What if my child doesn't make it? It's heartbreaking to think of losing your child from a seizure when you know the medication is out there that could help them." Sadly, Schaefer's fears were realized. Lydia died in her sleep from a seizure on Mother's Day 2014 while her parents were still waiting for lawmakers to work out the new law's implementations. An article in the Washington Post states that there are several thousand published studies showing the potential benefits for marijuana for some conditions, and animal studies have shown that CBD can stop seizures. CBD is cannabinoid, one of the chemicals in marijuana or hemp that has medicinal value but doesn't cause a high, and it's also widely reported to vastly reduce the number of destructive seizures in some people with seizure disorders. More research is desperately needed. Research that is stemmed by a wall of strict laws regarding the study of marijuana. America, it's time to tear down this wall. Studies also show that medical marijuana reduces anxiety for people with OCD, PTSD, bipolar disorder, and other anxiety disorders. Some war veterans are also lobbying for their rights to use medical marijuana to relieve their symptoms of PTSD. A study published in the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs found that the use of cannabis can reduce the symptoms of PTSD, and also that there is extensive evidence that cannabinoids can facilitate extinction of aversive memories. That same principle makes medical marijuana effective for anxiety disorders that are pervasive in adults and children with OCD and autism. The National Cancer Institute, a branch of the government, states that there have been found over 60 different receptors in our brains that respond to cannabis. One of those, the endocannabinoid system, plays a role in fear extinction. Unfortunately, there are many obstacles to medical use and much-needed research caused by our current laws. Some lawmakers have focused narrowly on legalizing the use of marijuana extracts for seizure disorders alone. Seizure disorders, while being one of the most life-threatening examples of the benefits of medical marijuana, are by no means the only medical condition that is helped by this plant. This is an injustice to those with chronic and terminal conditions that can be relieved through the use of medical marijuana. Two of the biggest roadblocks to legalizing one of the world's least deadly drugs are emotional prejudices and arbitrary drug classification. Marijuana is classified as a Schedule I drug, putting it side by side with heroin in the most dangerous drug category. This classification alone prevents scientists in the United States from studying the scope of medical marijuana's benefits. The irony of this classification is that even an overdose of marijuana doesn't kill or even devastate its victim. One of the arguments for keeping marijuana a Schedule I drug and against legalizing it for medical purposes is the often heard of phrase, gateway drug. The term gateway drug, while exciting emotions and inflaming fearful images of teens with needles in their arms, has no bearing on the actual question of the safety of marijuana itself. It's an illogical, slippery slope argument that falsely accuses one event of being the cause of the next event. The claim that trying marijuana opens the door for dangerous drugs discounts the fact that those who move on to more dangerous drugs will likely have done so regardless. The fact that they have used gateway drug argument is an admittance that marijuana alone is not a dangerous drug. When used as a medication, marijuana replaces more dangerous pharmaceuticals. According to a study published in the JAMA International Medicine, states with medical cannabis laws have 24.8 lower opiate overdose mortality rate compared with states without medical cannabis laws. That's almost 25% less deaths from painkiller overdoses. The argument that there's not enough scientific proof to back the legalization of marijuana doesn't take into account that the Schedule I classification is prohibitive to research. No one disagrees that more research is needed. Research is needed. So America, tear down this wall and allow us to research. The classification of marijuana needs to be dropped down to a level that reflects its truth and not emotional hyperbole and paranoia. So what can you do? First, don't take my word for it. Research the subject for yourself and come to your own conclusions. Ignorance and blind faith have led us to ban what is possibly an extremely effective, life-changing medication. Only knowledge and education will bring us back to a sane place. Second, call or email your representatives. Call your representatives in D.C. and let them know that America is ready to reclassify marijuana appropriately. Call your congressman in Tennessee and let them know that you support medical marijuana and urge them to consider their votes next time a bill comes across their desk. In conclusion, it should be obvious to anyone who's paying attention that there are reasons to legalize medical marijuana and reclassify it down from a Schedule I drug. There are millions of reasons, because there are millions of people who could be helped, even saved. We've discussed the obstacles, but this is no unmovable wall. The wall is starting to give way, but even while we celebrate every small victory, someone is suffering and children are dying. Finally, in response to anyone who thinks this doesn't affect you, ask yourself if you're willing to sacrifice a child for your beliefs. Maybe one day it would be your child. I don't smoke pot, in case you were wondering, but I would stand up to fight for your child's access to a natural plant that may save his life or make it a little better. What would you do? Let's tear down this wall.